Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for being with us here on Atlanta News First Plus. I'm Joy Lim Nakarin. Okay, so I want to just take you live here to something that we are watching right now here on Atlanta News First Plus. So we are just going to anticipating bring you live into this ceremony where the Atlanta Veterans Affairs will officially rename their regional office in Decatur today to honor the late U.S. Senator Johnny Isakson. Isakson passed away in December of 2021 after representing Georgia in the U.S. Senate from 2005 to 2019. He also served as the chair of the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee during that time. For years, Isakson worked to improve veterans' access to health care and is known for his work on education as well as immigration policy. While we are waiting for this to begin, I want to take us to a story put together by my colleague, Asia Wilson.
Isakson passed away in 2021, but in 2022, Senator John Ossoff introduced and passed into law the Senator Johnny Isakson Veteran Affairs Regional Office Act. And today, his family, along with congressional leaders, will be here to name this building in honor of him. Isakson served the state in the U.S. Senate from 2005 to 2019 and served as the chairman of the Senate Veteran Affairs Committee from 2015 to 2019. For years, he advocated for the nation's veterans and service members. He worked to improve veteran access to health care and is also known for his work on education and immigration policy. Isakson was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2015 and resigned at the end of 2019. He died in December of 2021, but leaders are remembering him for his dedicated service.
His ability to communicate the problem, particularly to the folks on the other side of the aisle, and to work towards solutions was, unfortunately, that's a disappearing act in Congress these days.
Now today, the Veteran Affairs Secretary Dennis McDonough, U.S. Senator John Ossoff, and Isakson's family and congressional delegation will be here to rename this building in his honor. We will be there as the event starts at 10. In Decatur, Asia Wilson, Atlanta News First.
All right, thanks so much to Asia for that report. And just looking live, here we are expecting this event to begin really at any moment now, and we are expecting Senator Ossoff to be really at the helm of this ceremony today. He told Atlanta News First, quote, Senator Isakson was committed to Georgia's veterans and military families, and he was committed to bringing Republicans and Democrats together to do what's right for the nation and for Georgia. And he went on to say, it was an honor to help lead this bipartisan effort to rename the Atlanta Regional Office as the Isakson VA Atlanta Regional Office in recognition of Senator Isakson's extraordinary service. This is from Senator Ossoff in a press release. And Senator Ossoff did introduce and pass into law the Senator Johnny Isakson VA Regional Office Act of 2022. And again, other senators such as Reverend Raphael Warnock, I should say, also worked alongside Mr. Ossoff to honor the late senator for his work as he advocated for veterans, service members, military families. And of course, now Mr. Isaac's name and work will be remembered forever at this ceremony with the changing of this name. And again, the VA holding this ceremony at the Atlanta VA Regional Office on Claremont Road. Isakson's family members, Veteran Affairs Secretary Dennis McDonough, Senator Ossoff, who we've been seeing, and other members of Georgia's congressional delegation are present for this. So we're just waiting for that to begin at any moment now. In the meantime, let's just take a moment to take a look at the forecast, just so we are respectful of your time and we give you information that's valuable to you at every moment. We have First Alert meteorologist Courtney Jacobazzi with a look at the forecast, as we're going to keep our eye on this press conference. We'll take you there live when it begins. But Courtney's got your forecast for now.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Joy. Yeah, I'll be keeping a close eye on that. And if I drop out of my forecast early, you know why. But in the meantime, here's a look at kind of what we're tracking over the next few days. Today it will be breezy, cloudy, and cooler. Tomorrow is a first alert weather day, and that is because of rain and maybe a few storms as well. Nothing severe, but a few storms will be possible. And then late week, hey, look at that. It's going to be warmer with some sunshine. Who's excited for some warmer air? Yeah, I know I am. I'm First Alert Meteorologist Courtney Jacobazzi. Let's talk into more detail about what is going on as we head through the next couple of days. Mentioned today will be breezy, in fact, windy for a lot of people. We have a wind advisory in effect through 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon for the counties highlighted in that beige color there, so mainly west and north of Atlanta. This does include Fulton County. A sustained wind through the day today and into tomorrow, 15 to 25 miles per hour. Gusts 35 to 40. Some spots could experience gusts as high as 45 miles per hour. So just keep in mind, again, that goes into Tuesday, not Monday. They ended up extending that into 2 p.m. Tuesday. But either way, let's take you through it. So through the afternoon today, gusts will be widespread 20 to 30. And then as we head into the evening tonight, 20 to 35. Look at this as we head through the overnight. This is all ahead of a weather system that's going to bring us our first alert weather day tomorrow. We are going to have winds gust upwards of 40 to maybe 45 miles per hour, especially in the higher elevations of the mountains. And that's just a precursor to our front. We're essentially going to have this upper level feature move in ahead of our front and really kick up the wind. So just know you're going to hear it howling outside your window overnight, and the wind will stay quite blustery through your morning commute tomorrow and die down as we head into the evening after that front passes. Temperatures today, let's talk about it. Cooler. 50s if you're northeast of the city. We have a wedge building in. That's going to give us that more cloudy look today. Also help promote the breeze today with highs in the low 60s for much of Metro and points south. Overnight tonight, lows will drop into the 50s, so it'll be a cool start to tomorrow. And let's talk about that rain, because again, tomorrow's a first alert weather day. Cold front moves in. It'll impact the morning commute mainly for areas northwest of Atlanta, so from Chattooga to Floyd County into Fannin County, maybe as far south as Bartow and Cherokee County. By 7 o'clock, some showers will start to move in. Again, it's going to be windy at this point as well. Now, with that said, now, while we've had a couple of days from the really heavy rain, the rain working in tandem with wind like that, even if it's not training showers, that could take down some trees. Most widespread rain through your lunch hour, and then for the evening commute, everything kind of fizzles out. So it looks like your morning commute and your lunch hour will be impacted most, with the evening looking better. It looks like they might be getting set up here for Ossoff to speak. We're going to keep an eye on it. I'm going to take you through one more graphic, and then we'll probably dip into that for you, because it looks like they might be getting ready to introduce Senator Ossoff there. But either way, showers start to kind of taper off through the evening. And if you are in East Georgia, you could experience a few showers of very early Wednesday morning, but we don't have a rain chance on the 7-day because it's going to be so early it won't impact any of you. We could pick up about half an inch to maybe an inch of rain through it all, so we're not worried about any kind of flooding or anything like that. But again, the rain working in tandem with the wind, that could definitely take down some trees, which ultimately can take down some power lines. So something we'll be watching for, especially tomorrow morning. And then as we head into the end of the week, let's take you to the 7-day forecast, because that's where the good stuff is. As we head into the weekend, which I feel like for the past few weeks we've said Friday is just a wash, and the weekend is a little on the gloomy side. Not this weekend. We'll have low 60s today, low 60s tomorrow with that first alert weather day for the widespread rain. Really nice day on Wednesday. Maybe a few showers east on Thursday, but 70s and sunshine through your Easter weekend. All right, we're going to jump in now to take a look at this press conference with Senator Ossoff.
Colors, hope, left faith, reason, arms.
I'd like to recognize for Women's History Month the all-female. So, at this time, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. It's going to be led by the Isakson grandchildren. Please come on up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The national anthem will be sung by Janice Ivory.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramp as we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
And next, the VA chaplain, the invocation by VA chaplain David Goldstrom.
From Genesis chapter 26, verse 28. And they said to Isaac, we saw plainly that the Lord was with thee, and we said, let there now be an oath between us, and let us make a covenant with thee, that thou wilt do no harm, and as we have only done good, and parted in peace, and thou art blessed of the Lord. And he made them a feast, and they rose up in the morning and swore a covenant to one another. And Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. Almighty and gracious God, we are assembled this magnificent morning to rename and rededicate this Veterans Benefits Administration Regional Office. And we give you thanks and ask you to bless and hallow this facility and all who work and are served from within. And thank you for your gift of public servants and leaders like Johnny Isakson. Continuing vision and labors ensure that this facility continues to serve our veterans. Continue to bless them with an abundance of your healing grace. We acknowledge our debt to those who have given their lives in sacrifice and service to their country, and also to those still living who pay the price for freedom, justice, and liberty. May we never forget the value of their sacrifice, the nobility of their courage, and the tenacity of their endurance, which has purchased for us peace, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. May this new name and rededication for those we serve make this a place where they can access the benefits, comfort, peace, and assurance that their contributions will always be remembered and honored. As we rename and bless this regional center, we pray that we who are present may rededicate our energies individually and collectively to serve with joy, and to live out our nation's creed of one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chaplain. You may be seated. Send a thank you to the Decatur High School ROTC, Department of Veterans Affairs leadership, to introduce Senator John, Senator from Georgia, and co-sponsored the Senate Senator Johnny Isakson.
Good morning. Good morning. This is a day of entire Isaac in the U.S. Congress, and thank you for your help shepherding this legislation to passage in both houses and to the President's desk. Isaacson's values and example continue to influence. Senator Isakson was a statesman among mere politicians. Ethic, all partisan interest, and continue and was always committed to our nation. And he was always committed to those who serve and have served. So I would like to ask, in Senator Isakson's honor, as I imagine he would wish, that all veterans, all spouses of veterans, all children of veterans, service members, and military spouses please stand to be honored by all of us this morning. Senate. And in his stead, John has now joined us several years in a row. We bring up Georgia Barbecue. Senator Warnock helps to organize this event. And one of the things that makes this lunch, Democratic senators sit across the table from Republican company, lacking in our poisonous that shared national interest. Food, that if that connective tissue between us to our nation's national security but also because it matters. Period in American history. It's fitting also the spirit and values with which he served elevated the interests of America's veterans to the high list of many priorities. Because those who wear the uniform and those who have served do so out of patriotic commitment to an indivisible nation. That veterans, and I might add, and Senator Isakson knew this, it's not just service members who serve and sacrifice. Renewed and redoubled legacy laid by Senator Isakson. You to inspire me our course back dates to which Senator Isakson was committed. Thank you all so much for joining us. This is a great day as we rename this regional office in Johnny's honor. And I'm so grateful to all of you for everything you do for the state of Georgia and for the nation. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Ossoff. Next, please welcome Congressman Sanford Bishop, who has represented the 2nd Congressional District of Georgia in the U.S. House of Representatives since 1993, and he co-sponsored the House bill for this renaming. Congressman Bishop.
Good morning. Truly, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it, because we are here for a really good purpose. Secretary McDonough, thank you for leading today's ceremony. Thank you, Undersecretary Jacobs and Assistant Secretary Ross, and the entire Veterans Affairs team for organizing today's event. Today we are gathered to honor a good and a great man. Johnny Isakson was a true statesman, and I was fortunate to have served with him in the Georgia House, to serve with him in the United States House, and bicamerally during his tenure in the United States Senate. I was really fortunate to be able to call him my friend. To the entire Isakson family, please know that we still really miss Johnny on Capitol Hill and in the delegation. He was a stabilizing force, and he always kept us focused on who we were working for, the people of Georgia. He was really especially inured and worked hard for our nation's veterans. He had a heart of a public servant, and he looked at issues not from a partisan basis, but for the good of all Americans. And as chair of the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, and as an Air Force veteran himself, Johnny knew the challenges that America's veterans faced. He was always in that corner. He was always fighting to ensure that our country respected our veterans, the sacrifices that they and their families made by honoring the commitment that our country made to them. Therefore, it is so fitting and so proper that the Department of Veterans Affairs Regional Office here in Atlanta is being named for Senator Johnny Isakson. It is certainly out of respect for his tremendous legacy as a champion for our nation's veterans. I'm so happy to be joined here today by my colleagues in Congress, Senator Ossoff, as well as Congresswoman Lucy McBath, my good friend Austin Scott, who represents my neighboring 8th Congressional District. You know, Austin met Senator Isakson when he was 17 years old. And Austin and I had the privilege of working together with Senator Isakson on several bipartisan, bicameral issues to improve the lives and the cultural heritage of the people of Georgia. So thank you, Senator Ossoff, for your work with Senator Blunt in leading the Senate legislation. And as Dean of the Georgia delegation, I'm proud to have led the bipartisan companion bill with Congressman Rick Allen and the support of the entire 14-member Georgia House delegation. It's so fitting that the bill was signed into law by Johnny's friend and former Senate colleague, President Joe Biden. As I said earlier, it is really my great fortune to have been able to call Johnny Isakson my friend. But Johnny was not just my friend or your friend. Johnny was a friend to humanity. May his name on this regional office serve as an inspiration for those who work within and beyond these walls on behalf of our country's veterans. To God be the glory for the life and the legacy and the service of Johnny Isakson.
Speaking on behalf of the Johnny Isakson family, please welcome Mr. John Isakson.
Well, thank you to the VA for all that y'all have done. Thank you for having me, having the family. Thank you to all the veterans who serve this country. There are no greater patriots than those of you in the room and all your colleagues that you've served with, both before and after. I should not have agreed to go towards the end of the program and follow Congressman Bishop and Senator Ossoff. That is a tough bar to get over, very tough bar to get over. You know, on behalf of the family, thank you seems like too trite of a comment in the face of such a huge honor, both for Dad, obviously, and then also for us. Just a little over a year ago, maybe a year and a half, Senator Ossoff, when you reached out and said you wanted to sponsor this legislation and change the name of the building, and you invited us all up to celebrate the passing of the bill. I've often joked about things in my life that require an act of Congress to occur, and this was actually one of them. So, thank you for your initiative and for your support and for your friendship. Thank you for your outreach. All of that is appreciated. As a family, we're all very grateful for the kind words and the amazing tribute to Dad and his efforts on behalf of veterans. Thank you to the VA for the incredible hospitality today And I want to thank everybody here who participated in the effort to make this day happen, whether it was working on the wall, working on the naming, setting up the facility. All of y'all have made this day incredibly special, and as a family, we are very grateful. Mr. Secretary, it's an honor to meet you and to sit on the stage with you. Thank you for everything you're doing for veterans as well, and thank you for your leadership. Bee Nguyen, I saw her a little while ago. Yes, please tell Senator Warnock that we continue to appreciate his support for Dad's bipartisan barbecue in the fall. He's one of the 4 senators who picked that up with Senator Ossoff, and it's very warming to know that that tradition lives on. So tell him I said thank you. Thank you, Congresswoman McBath, for being here. Thank you for your support. To all the staff and representatives of other elected officials, thank you all for being here. Thank you for the support for Dad and for the support for this day. It's, like I said, it's a little overwhelming. To all of Dad's staff who are here today, former staff, would y'all mind standing, please? I'd like to give them a round of applause. Dad was a great man, but he prided himself on surrounding himself with great people, and that is nowhere better demonstrated than the group that's here today. So thank you all very much. Y'all were like family to him, every one of you. I want to particularly point out 2 people, Congressman Austin Scott and Attorney General Chris Carr. Thank you both for everything that you've done around the legacy projects that we've started, around all the memorials that we have around Dad. Y'all have been incredible friends, great supporters, but more importantly, thank you for being the kind of leaders we need in a difficult and tough time. Thoughtful, reflective, intelligent, and well-spoken. If these characteristics sound a little familiar, they are. That's how we used to describe Dad. I cannot think of 2 people who are doing a better job of carrying Dad's mantle in various ways in front of and behind the scenes than you both. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your friendship. I think it's so fitting that Dad's name go on this building, right? They're the obvious reasons. It's in Georgia. He was the chair of the VA. He was a member of the Air National Guard. But I think it's fitting for maybe less obvious reasons, although they've been mentioned here already, and certainly less known. Dad sponsored and shepherded 55 pieces of legislation that impacted the VA and changed it, and I would like to thank all of them for the better. While he was chairman and on the committee, the last piece of legislation that passed that carried his name actually passed a year after he retired. And I think very fittingly, that piece of legislation combined 2 of Dad's biggest passions in public service, education and Veterans Affairs. That bill has gone on to provide scholarships, vocational training, educational support services, and even the Vet Tech program that the Secretary and I were speaking about earlier that's been so tremendously successful. I think when Dad looks down and thinks about the things that are continued in his name, I think that is one that will be particularly special. Dad wanted to see to it that our veterans had broader access to job training, educational and vocational training. It was a point of pride for him that he could work on that. He was so proud of being the chair of the VA committee. He always said he couldn't do enough for the country, and here is a way where he felt like he could do more. Now, Dad's success as chairman of the committee, in my opinion, was the result of a combination of 2 things. His passion for supporting our most dedicated and patriotic citizens, and his willingness and ability to work with folks on both sides of the aisle. Sounds like an easy job up front, doesn't it? Supporting veterans. Who's against that? But what specifically to do? Expanded medical care, access to mental health services, expanded education and job training, even expanded burial benefits. All of these items and many, many more were and are the priority of the VA, the administration, Congress, and many Americans. How to weave all these concerns into a piece of legislation and then get people on both sides of the aisle to agree? That was Dad's gift. Dad loved to say, no one's always right and no one's always wrong. If you want to be heard, you have to listen. Dad listened. Dad knew he wasn't always right, and he wasn't always afraid of other people getting the credit, as long as the job got done. I think about the phone calls I've gotten from so many of Dad's friends and colleagues saying they miss him. They miss his presence, they miss his calm hand on the wheel, and his reassuring voice. I think about the conversations I have had with many of the people in the room today, lamenting the vacuum that Dad's retirement and passing have left. When I heard that at first, I was really touched and humbled. I knew Dad was that great. I was just glad other people did as well. But it's not enough to just remember Dad. I look out at the landscape today in the country, and we've taken a hard tack away from political civility, from governing and leading from a position of agreement and unity, which is not to say everyone's going to agree all the time, hardly. Senator Ossoff and I talk frequently. He's reached out many times. We don't agree very much. But I respect him. I appreciate him. And I learn something from him every time we talk. We need to move away from belligerence, vitriol, and grandstanding. We need to move towards respect and civility. That's what Dad always said, right? You catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. Dad proved this time and time again in his 40-something-year career. Calm is not complacency. Polite is not pushover. Compromise is not capitulation. We should talk and argue and disagree, but we should do so from a place of respect and appreciation, not a place of denigration or derision. When Dad retired from the Senate in 2019, there was a typical retirement lunch for him in the Capitol. We were invited as family, sat with him, and we walked in, and every senator was there. Not 4 or 5 were missing. Leader McConnell came up to me and he said it was the most amazing thing he'd ever seen. In his entire time in Congress, he had never gone to a retirement lunch where every member from both parties was in attendance. And the words that were spoken that day from senators on both sides of the aisle, they were amazing. And they were overwhelming. And they weren't platitudes or throwaway stories. It was praise for working on a piece of legislation that was particularly difficult, or helping to manage a negotiation on a conference committee for an important bill, or for just helping find common ground on an issue, be it large or small, where two sides just couldn't get there. Dad could get there. He always got there. He always found the common ground, and he always built on it. After he retired, the Senate kept up the bipartisan barbecue that we've been talking about, and Senator Ossoff and Senator Coons have been nice enough to invite me up to attend. And I spoke the first year that they did it after Dad retired. And when Senator Coons asked me to do that, I didn't want what I said to be my words. I didn't feel like that was very appropriate. So I sat with Dad for a while and talked about what he wanted said. And one of the things that we talked about, and I think it's really relevant today, was the dislike and the distrust of Congress. And when Dad and I were talking about that, he got so fired up and he got so frustrated and so disappointed. But I think what he said might surprise you. Those are my friends, he said. Those are good people serving their country. If only they could start with the things they agree on, however small, and build from there. It would be so much more productive, and so much more would get done. He wasn't talking about Republicans and Democrats. He was talking about everyone, because everyone was his friend, right? We've all heard it, his favorite phrase. There's only 2 kinds of people, friends and future friends. It wasn't some trite phrase. He really believed it. And I think that's the challenge to all of us today, right? And to everyone who serves. Don't tear down, build up. Listen to be heard. Find the common ground. Get there. As Dad was fond of saying, quoting Mark Twain, do the right thing, even when it's hard or doesn't help you. You'll gratify some, and you'll astonish the rest. In conclusion, thank you to all of you for being here today. If you are here, you played a part in making this happen, and I and my family are very grateful. Dad was a great man, and we all knew it. It is humbling, touching, and an honor to think that so many others felt the same way. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your remarks. Thank you. Next, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the Honorable Dennis McDonough. Before coming to VA, he served as the 26th White House Chief of Staff and as Principal Deputy National Security Advisor. He believes deeply, as he testified to Congress, that there is no more sacred obligation nor a noble undertaking than to uphold our promises to our veterans, whether they come home decades ago or days ago. Please join me in welcoming the 11th Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Dennis McDonough.
Tony, thank you for the generous introduction and for your outstanding leadership of this Atlanta Johnny Isakson regional office. Before I get into my remarks, let me just say to our veterans, when we finish here, this room will be remade into our One VA experience. If you're having any issue with any benefits or claims or access to care, we'll have a full team here ready to work with you because we recognize that we work for you. Now, it is a pleasure and privilege to join you to honor the life and enduring legacy of Senator Johnny Isakson. I want to recognize so many folks who have already been recognized, but let me just underscore my appreciation to the VSO representatives, to the many state and local leaders, the Attorney General. Thank you so much, Senator Ossoff, Senator Warnock's team, Representative Bishop, Mr. Scott, Ms. Macbeth, whose bipartisan law made today's event possible. Most importantly, I extend a special welcome to the members of Senator Isakson's family who are here today, especially Diane, his children, John, Kevin, and Julie. Thank you for honoring us with your presence. Mrs. Isakson, I mentioned this to you already privately, but I had the good fortune to work closely with Senator Isakson on several occasions. I was always struck by how kind and good-natured he was every time I saw him. Over these months since the horrendous attacks on October 7th against Israel, I'm reminded that he was a great friend of Israel and the Jewish community, always working with his colleagues and with presidents of both parties to strengthen our ally. Unwavering champion of fairness and unity and progress, as we've already heard. And as you know, each of you all too well, it was life-changing work that pulled him in many directions. Ma'am, you know better than anyone that his job was not an easy one. His responsibilities required a great deal of sacrifice, a lot of support from you, from your kids, and from your grandkids. So for that, I want to say thank you for sharing such a good man with all of us. The man who cared so deeply for you, his family, the people of Georgia, came to D.C. and fought every single day for the American people, not Republicans or Democrats or independents, and especially for his fellow veterans. His life's calling in public service, we just heard, was to serve his fellow veterans. In fact, his highest aspiration, I gather, was to serve as chairman of the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee. Having fulfilled that aspiration, he made maximum use of it. Thanks to him, veterans can access quality mental health care without stigma or shame. Thanks to the passage of the Clay Hunt Suicide Prevention for American Veterans Act, Senator Isakson's first piece of legislation passed as the chairman of that committee. Veterans can use their educational benefits beyond the initial 15-year limit, thanks to the his passage of the Forever GI Bill. Veterans can receive timely responses to their appeals as a result of the enactment of the Veterans Appeals Improvement and Modernization Act. Veterans can access care in their communities, where and when they need it, thanks to his passage of the Mission Act. Veterans living with the effects of exposure to Agent Orange can now receive the benefits and care they earned and so richly deserve with the enactment of the Blue Water Navy Vietnam Veterans Act of 2019. And as John just said, one of his lasting achievements was passed after he retired. That bill included the Deborah Sampson Act on top of everything John just said, including VetTech. An important act because it strengthened programs and services for women vets, the fastest growing cohort of veterans in VA's care, including the establishment of the Office of Women's Health. He remained a champion for vets until the very end. These are just a few of his many legislative accomplishments that he and his team, a great team, by the way, everybody on the Hill understood that that was a great team. That will endure and improve the lives of men and women who wear our nation's uniform for years to come. As I was preparing for my remarks today, I recalled so many moments that showed how Senator Isakson helped to transform our nation for the better. One story in particular comes to mind from early in my time as President Obama's Chief of Staff. It was April 2013 when President Obama asked Senator Isakson to organize a dinner with him and 12 Republican senators. They had a lot to talk about. March Madness had just ended a few days earlier. Louisville beat Michigan for the national championship right here in the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. But Congress and the President faced a number of pressing challenges, with a particular disagreement on the President's budget proposal. Breaking bread together allowed the group to, in Senator Isakson's words, find common ground and solutions that were right for America, not just a win for the President or a win for the Republicans. It was in that moment that I got a glimpse of what everybody has been talking about for the last several minutes. Senator Isakson's thoughtfulness and his integrity. By answering the President's call, he used his influence to turn what had been obstacles into conversations of civility and productivity. A dinner became a series of meetings, stretching over months. Now, it didn't resolve everything, but it brought different people together, broke down some long-standing barriers to move our country one step forward in the right direction. And that was one of his many great gifts, bringing people together, lifting them up, whether it was listening to his Johnny-isms on the Senate floor for a good laugh, or attending the barbecue lunch. He took every opportunity to bring people together. I'll close with one last thought. I will remember Senator Isakson for many things, including the many kindnesses he showed me personally, which he didn't have to do to the staff guy, but he did relentlessly. But maybe the highest among those memories will be the strength of his friendships, especially with the late, great Georgia statesman, John Lewis. John just said it a minute ago, his famous motto: there are two types of people in this world, friends and future friends. One of those beloved friendships was with Max Cleland, a U.S. Army veteran of the Vietnam War, Silver Star recipient, triple amputee, U.S. Senator and the 10th Administrator of the Department of Veterans Affairs. How fitting it is that Johnny Isakson Regional Office will forever stand right next to Max Cleland VA Medical Center. We honor the bond of brotherhood and camaraderie that exists among these two veterans, both in life and in death. Just as they stood shoulder to shoulder in Georgia and in Congress, so too shall they be honored and remembered together in this very important place. I can't imagine a more perfect lasting tribute. So today and forevermore, Senator Isakson's name will be synonymous with the veteran community that he was proud of, a proud member of, and a tireless fighter for. And his name will be synonymous with the vision of VA that he built, a VA that's accessible, available, responsive to veterans' needs, whatever that veteran needs. Just as Johnny Isakson was to generations of Georgia's veterans and to all of America's veterans. That is Johnny Isakson's legacy. So today we're here to rename a building. But we're really here to honor a great man, a patriotic veteran, a good boss, and a model public servant. May God bless Senator Isakson's soul. May God bless our veterans, their families, caregivers, and survivors, and may we always give them our very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary McDonough. For closing remarks, please welcome VA's Undersecretary for Benefits, Mr. Josh Jacobs, who leads the team of over 32,000 Veteran Benefits Administration employees in the delivery of non-medical benefit programs. Mr. Jacobs, the floor is yours.
Thanks very much, Tony, for your introduction, for emceeing today's event, and for your leadership here at the Senator Johnny Isakson Atlanta VA Regional Office. As we close out today's event, I'd like to thank a number of folks who made it all possible. First, I'd like to extend my sincerest appreciation and thanks to the Isakson family for being here, for sharing Senator Isakson with us, with this country, with this community for so long, and for the sacrifice that I know it entailed. And thank you for allowing us to honor him in this way. I want to thank the congressional delegation who's here with us, whose bipartisan legislation made this renaming possible, including Senator Ossoff and Representatives Bishop, Scott, and McBath. I want to thank Senator McDonough, or Secretary McDonough, for his steadfast leadership, his beautiful words, and for all that he's done and continues to do to help this organization increase access and improve outcomes for more veterans, their families, caregivers, and survivors. And thanks as well to all of the VA staff who worked so hard in preparing for, planning, and executing today's event and making it a reality. Both the renaming ceremony today, as well as the One VA experience we are hosting later in the afternoon. Today, we've taken a significant step in honoring the extraordinary legacy of Senator Johnny Isakson by renaming this regional office in his honor. We've reflected on all that he's accomplished for this country and the veterans who served it, the many pieces of legislation that he passed, the individuals he helped, and the values that he held dear. But today is not just about looking back. It's about looking forward. It's about taking Senator Isakson's legacy of service, compassion, and dedication and making it our own. It's about answering the call to action, doing everything in our power to serve veterans as well as they have served us, just as Senator Isakson did time and time again. That's why we're hosting a One VA experience here later today, where veterans will be able to come, enroll for health care, or seek assistance with their benefits. And that's why, as we embark on this new chapter for the regional office, we will continue to be inspired by Senator Isakson's example, and we will carry forward the spirit of his commitment by ensuring that everyone who walks through the doors of this office joining us today to honor the life and the legacy of Senator Isakson, and thank you for your continued partnership as we continue to work to deliver earned benefits on behalf of a grateful nation. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. I want to thank you all again for attending. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful vote. Thank you. Appreciate it. God bless you. Congresswoman.
Great ceremony.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for coming out. Appreciate it.
Thank you for that. I know that. Hi. How you doing? Fine.